Okay. All right. So what do you guys think bullying is? What would you classify bullying as?
I would say that bullying is a form of intimidation. It's a form of segregation, segregating one person way apart from the group, and it happens chronically over time. One incident may not necessarily be bullying, but repeated incidents over time certainly is a pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would agree with you 100%, and then I also feel like sometimes when people are bullied, they're more targeted, and there could be a lot of reasons for that, maybe because they're different, maybe because they appear a certain way. A lot of it is kind of, coming from a judgmental point of view, and so I just think it's important to be aware of why are we targeting people, why are certain people chosen to be bullied. And I agree, it's a form of intimidation, and I think it's a way to make people feel smaller, more inferior than they are, and I don't think that should be a message.
It's both making the bullied feel smaller and inferior, but also the bully perhaps doing it to feel bigger, stronger, above.
Exactly.
Because at the heart of it, of bullying is really self-esteem issues.
Right.
Yeah, or some type of void, or I feel like really everybody's struggling with something or other, and maybe that's how it comes out. Either you end up being the victim, or you end up hurting other people. But that's something important to remember. But like a definition, I would say, of bullying is when somebody really feels victimized and maybe they can't stand up for themselves, or really don't know what to do. And it can include like name calling. Verbal threats, it can be physical stuff, so it can include a lot.
And I think it's also causing impairment in the person who is being victimized. Some people, might get teased, but for some reason it doesn't bother them, so they're not as impacted. Yeah. But then for some people who, it hits like a sensitive issue, it can be really, really problematic in the future.
Yeah.
And they can have a lot of mental health sequelae because of it.
And that's what happened to me.
She makes a good point that bullying is something that affects the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it tends to occur when you're a child, you're an early teen, late teen, and those are the crucial years when everyone's simply trying to figure out who they are.
Exactly.
And in the process of doing that, unfortunately, some people pick out things in others that they don't like, or don't agree with, or don't understand, and usually don't understand. And bully because of that.
Yeah.
When all of us, the bullied and the bullying, or the bulliers, the bullies, whatever the word is, those that are bullied and those that are doing the bullying, everyone just wants to be loved and accepted and happy.
That's what I always would look for. I would try to at least be nice to people, to talk to people, and better the things that they were going through potentially, because everybody has their own issues, and I would just try to relate myself to them, but every time I did that, it never really worked, because most of the kids that I was talking to, they had their own issues, but when they would come and see me, we were on different levels. They would see me as, oh, he's that really big, smart kid. I don't know if I'd be able to be a good friend with him. You might think he's all that. So judgmental issues can also play a role as well in the way a bully might think, or the way bullying might start, or the way you might be targeted. And as physicians, would you guys say that you've had patients that have experienced the same problem? Do you have tons of patients that have that problem?
Quite a few, actually, and it usually stems when they're younger. Even our adult patients sometimes either block out that time of their life or are very aware of it and feel like it's still happening now. I particularly had one patient who was telling me she had this group of girlfriends, and then all of a sudden they just decided one summer that they weren't going to talk to her anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, and so she was kind of alienated.
Yeah.
So to have like this group of friends who you think are your good friends and then not, it's impacted her now, because now she's having difficulty making girlfriends, and it's because there's, an issue of trust involved, because when she did trust,
Yeah, and that's hard.
So it's kind of working through that, and it can be worked through. But I think it's good to be aware of why. You know.
And bullying certainly takes place in adulthood. I don't want anyone to get the impression that you don't deal with bullying your whole life, because you really do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not doesn't just happen to children or adolescents. It happens in the workplace. It can happen at home in intimidating relationships. You know, it's a lifelong issue.
And a lot of times adults can become bullies. I've experienced adults that have been bullies themselves. And that actually makes it rough because they have this impact on life that's normal. You know, and it's normal to go and put someone down or to deprive them of the qualities that they have. You know, to make them feel bad, make them feel like they're not real, basically, that, you know, they don't deserve to be here. And I've had issues with a lot of adults who are like that. And so that really makes it harder.
And some adults may know what they're doing, that they're doing that, and some may not. Some may not even be maybe acting as a bully and not even aware. Same can be said for kids. They may be acting as a bully and not even aware of the impacts they're having on the people that they're targeting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So how do you think people become aware then of behavior?
Well, for children and for adolescents, it's the adult's job to say this is not appropriate. You know, to be role models and to point it out, and to do something about it. There needs to be consequences for behavior like that. If there are no consequences, well, who says it's going to stop?
Yeah, that's not right.
So,
I think one of the challenges becomes too is not everyone has an intact household, especially when you're younger. You can't control that variable. So what might happen is a lot of the bullies might have bully parents. So they're just kind of modeling or mirroring what they see, what they know. Maybe the dad treats the mom that way or vice versa, or they get treated that way. So that's the only way they know how to treat people, and so the cycle perpetuates. So it's also something to keep that in mind too, is where are they coming from, right? You know, clearly to be a bully, it takes probably being bullied at some point in your own life, whether you were aware of it or not.
otherwise, where do you learn it from?
Exactly,
That's true.
because as kids you learn things, right? You mirror what other people do. You're not born with a template necessarily, you know.
And when I was born, and as I went through like first, second, third grade, I actually never knew what bullying was because I didn't have any problems with bullying. It was to the point once I got middle school and now that I'm in high school when I started experiencing bullying more. So I think that happens with a lot of kids as well. They don't know what bullying is, and then it's just thrown on them, basically. You know what I mean? And one of my biggest messages to the community is to try to gain a real understanding of what bullying is like. But I just want to know, what kind of messages would you guys give to the community? Like, what ideas do you guys have on what should be done in the community to protect our children, to, you know, create more of an awareness, to prevent bullying in our schools or community centers? Or, I mean, what do you guys think?
I would say that education is number one, and that's exactly what you're trying to do. That this is bullying, it happens. It's not something that we just made up that's intangible, it actually happens. These are the very serious and very long-term consequences of bullying. It's there, it's not something that we can brush under the rug, so to speak, and deal with later. And the education needs to be on multiple levels. It needs to be given to teachers, to the students of all different ages, to the parents, to the administration in the school system, in the community leaders.